best crypto asset? Bitcoin's the best crypto asset. Which one's the best crypto asset? Bitcoin's the best crypto asset. Which one's the best? 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 What's the second best?
This is Discover Crypto, and we have a huge show for you today. We got to talk about Solana and Wall Street's insatiable appetite for this altcoin, and how do the altcoin flows for Solana compare to XRP and Bitcoin and Ethereum. I'm joined here by Drew. We're going to talk about some commodity updates as well. We got some other altcoin news. We're going to talk about Chainlink. Tons and tons of stuff to cover today. But Drew, how are you doing today? I'm liking the S curl. Chat, do we like Drew's bang?
That's by accident. I'm doing good. And actually, I was kind of thinking about, it is pretty impressive to see Solana inflows. With everything going on, I was thinking through the altcoin sector. Solana's been quite impressive. So I'm liking the angle of the show today. Bitcoin showing some interesting signs of pumpiness right now. Kind of came in and flirting over 70K. Now, it's been a hectic market open here. So I definitely do acknowledge that. But there's a lot of volatility on. It's kind of a trader's best friend in this market. And I kind of joked about us pumping off of the conflict news. Unfortunately, we keep moving up since the news broke here. So a lot to digest right now, and seeing a lot of familiar faces in the crowd. Good to see y'all.
Always good to see. Now, let's go ahead and draw some lines here. Now, I do believe it looks like we got a little bit of a, maybe somewhat of a parallel range, and right now we are losing that range. We are falling down below. So now the bears are trying to take control as things are escalating. We're getting mixed signals from Pete Hegseth this morning. We're going to talk about, he had a press conference a couple hours ago. I do have the details from that, but we are going to cover some crypto news first. Solana, Solana. Huge gains when you look at the max. Let's go to the 24-hour. It is up marginally. The pullback this morning has taken away a lot of the gains. There's a lot of coins that are deep into the green, and now we're starting to roll back. All of these, we're saying 3%, 4%, 8%. And now we're starting to see 0%, 0.3%, 2%. So we are starting to see a little bit of a pullback from the bullish period we were feeling earlier. Looking, we have stable Jupiter. Big news with Jupiter. We're going to talk about Jupiter. Jupiter and Chainlink, Drew. There's a Jupiter Chainlink situation going on. This is breaking news here. XLM. How about that? XLM is up. Render is up. And we're seeing Dogecoin's up. SWI is up. Zcash. Pump.fun is up. Let's look for the big losers here. Knight with a severe pullback here. And Trump. Looks like the MAGA community not so happy with Trump's recent comments. We're going to talk about that as well. Maybe a little bit of some mixed signals over here, Drew. He waits for the market to close, and then that's when he ratchets up the tension. Is that good or bad?
I mean, I think it's probably better to do it that way than letting the markets just cascade to the downside. Like, that's why he's been releasing all the craziest news on Friday after markets close. Let some of the dust settle from the news. Trump coin, I think, is actually below where, like, obviously it came out, it had to have come out really, lower than that. But when I covered it, it's like 5 minutes after that coin launched, and it was already at $5. To see it at $2 and some change right now, that just shows the sentiment in meme coins. It's the air's been taken out. And that's where, like, Bitcoin dominance, it was showing a little bit of sign of weakness, but waking up today, it's looking pretty strong, man. So
looking pretty good. Now, I do want to cover the Discord. Did get some more trades in. Got some trades in this morning. I did get in. It looks like they're flipping short. So now it's flipping to the shorts. A couple got stopped, but I am in this little bit of a render long. We are in profit on that one. What are we at? Just marginally. But now that they're flipping short, I might go ahead, cut and run as we're looking at some of these trades here. Let's talk about Solana. The reason we're talking about Solana is this story. Kind of covered this news back when it happened. It was a post from 5 days ago. Eric Balchunas works at Bloomberg. Solana down 57% since the spot ETFs launched in July, but they managed to accumulate $1.5 billion in flows. Update with the repost here. This is from yesterday. James Seifert. Let me move. Who were the buyers of these Solana ETFs? The top of the list is a who's who of market makers and crypto investment firms. Now, we're going to show you the Solana chart in a second. We're going to talk about my call here for a trend line. I'll get into that in a second. And then we're going to look at the Solana ETH chart as well. But Wall Street funneling $500 million into Solana ETFs in Q4, according to Bloomberg here. Looks like Solana, Silicon Valley-based venture firms, Electric Capital, and Goldman Sachs were the two largest buyers of spot Solana ETFs. Drew, let me just say that one more time. The second largest buyer of Solana ETFs, Goldman Sachs, in Q4. What do you think about that? Now, just launched in October.
That's a big deal. And really, the consistent inflows into Solana, there is something happening. And I think Bitcoin, I feel here to stay. But Solana is hard to bet against. It really is hard to bet against Solana. And seeing this, Goldman Sachs, inside players of the banking and industrial cartel, they see some writing on the wall that maybe
these are insiders here. Now, Electric Capital, Goldman Sachs, they have a $130 million position and $107 million position with the Solana ETF exposure. Morgan Stanley, Citadel Advisors, other notable institutions that bought Solana ETFs after Bitwise launched this October 28th. His data comes from these 13F filings. You got to submit these to the SEC. They submitted them in mid-February. The maximum day that you could push it back. So you're looking at Q4 until December 31st. You get 45 days. What do? They wait until the 45th day because they don't want you to know their investments. Now, you have to file this if you have more than $100 million in assets. You must disclose your holdings. Investment advisors, they have the largest share of the ETFs, $270 million. Hedge fund managers coming in next, $186 million. Holding companies, brokerage firms, $60 million and $20 million respectively. Banks, only $4.5 million. But major players, this is all smart money. Smart money is buying Solana ETFs. Now, Eric Balchunas did note cumulative flows have held strong in the recent months despite the fall. He noted that 50% of the ETF assets held by these 13F firms, making a more serious investor base. So half of all the Solana ETF flows are held by these 13F filing firms, meaning entities with more than $100 million. This is smart money accumulating Solana. Let's go into the charts. I talked about this range here on the bottom. Solana started to pump over the last couple of days. This is 5 days ago, 6 days ago. Solana started dumping. People called me an idiot. There's people in the chat, Drew. You don't know what you're talking about. You said Solana was going to pump. Well, Solana did have a retrace. And Drew, look at this trend line. Boom, boom. You keep drawing it out. I mean, look at that. Look at that. So Solana finding support exactly where we predicted, which is going to be on this bottom trend line. So if you aped in on the top, yeah, it's a terrible trade. But I think this is one worth holding on to. I do think Solana is going to, maybe touch this bottom again, especially with everything that we're seeing in the Middle East. But to me, this trend line is showing a bias to the upside.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that we're building a consistent run of higher lows on an altcoin while what's going on is happening, oil prices doing what they're doing, pressure on risk asset appetites, and to consistently build higher lows like this is absolutely insane.
Now, there is a warning, Drew. This is a bear flag.
Mm-hmm. What does that measurement come down to? Because I've been looking for a vibe check of much lower prices.
Ooh, $22 Solana. I just don't see it. I feel like every bear market bottom, you do get a bear flag that doesn't break to the downside.
Right. I remember I was looking at Solana, the original
Like this
pump to
one.
moment, right about $60, honestly, I think is where, another flush out would take us to, and we would have an ability to defend that level, is about $60 on Solana. But honestly, man, like it looks like a pretty strong project. It looks like it's got a lot of things going for it outside of memes with the AI agent infrastructure, and DeFi is there. The DeFi plays that I tested the waters on is not doing well, though. Like, they're mechanically useful DeFi applications within Solana, but the Solana DeFi value of these tokens is what's kind of been shocking. Like Jito, Marinade, Camino, they all have gotten absolutely slaughtered over the last few months here. $20 Solana, I think that's too low.
All right, now people are saying this bear flag can play out. $22 sounds very realistic. What is your bottom target for Solana if we're continuing this downtrend? Now, technically, Drew, this is a bearish, slightly bearish chart here.
Sure.
This
Yeah.
is, 100% a rising wedge. And a rising wedge is, they are bearish, but you could say it is almost a parallel range because, look, this rising wedge is going into the year 2028, it seems
Mhm.
like. And so bearish flag, yes. Does this look bearish? It certainly does. I personally can't see this playing out into a $22 Solana. No, it is legit. Target $15, $20 Pico bottom, anything under 40. Very bullish on 20. People are actually thinking Solana's going to $20. Drew, what is your bottom number for Solana? To me, $40. I think people start backing the truck up, especially when you're seeing smart money accumulate.
Yeah, it's like 55. It's, maybe it's not that different than 40. But I think 55 or $60 from my perspective on the charts is where I think the strength is going to be. But people will always have different opinions in this. This is the max confusion zone. And
Went from
holy cow.
7% to 30% gain there.
Did you really? Is that the
Yeah, let's
trade you were just in?
let's
Very
check in
nice.
on the charts here. So it looks like we're turning bullish. Was it the Disco Fam? Disco Fam, every time you hit the like button, you make Bitcoin go up $1. We're going to have 5 million people watching. So let's go ahead and start smashing that like button. 1 out of 5 people do it. We got $1 million Bitcoin. Drew, look at that. Fighting with the level. Well, let's zoom out so we can just kind of show you. We're just tracking the bottoms of Bitcoin here. This is just a little bit of a parallel range. Again, nothing very serious here. We're just kind of just throwing this up real quickly. Right now, Bitcoin trying to get back into the range. Look at that. Look at that. The little candle that could. And if we're going to say, if we hit the resistance that we have established as well, you see it a little bit cleaner as you go to the slightly larger time frames here. That is going to give us maybe a little bit of a slowdown. Let's go forward to the next candle. 72,400, 72,600 here. So Bitcoin, the bulls and the bears are fighting as we speak. Now let's talk about the inflows a little bit more here. So we talked about the Solana inflows, smart money buying Solana. Well, what about Bitcoin? Bitcoin also adding some ETFs, but it's Solana that's done well, but not all altcoins are doing well. Altcoin funds are extending their outflows. What does this mean for XRP? What does this mean for Ethereum here? And you can see we snapped the outflow streak. I told you this. We predicted this. We said during this escalation that we're seeing in the Middle East, traders don't want these positions open over the weekend. And so what they have been doing is they close these positions on a Friday. Looks like smart money front ran it a little bit, closed a lot on Thursday. So Thursday and Friday heading into the weekend. People didn't like what they were seeing, with the Strait of Hormuz and other things. So they closed their positions. Monday market opens. ETF buyers step up in a major way. ETH, XRP, Solana, they did see some outflows. But look at the numbers, 51, 18, 2.5. Very, very small amount right there. Now, this is a 3-day outflow streak. Like we said, Thursday, Friday, Monday. ETH had the largest loss, 225 million. XRP outflows, 41 million. Solana outflows, you add that 2.5 to Thursday and Friday, only 16 million. So XRP, you could say ETH is the weakest. It is a much larger market cap. XRP, definitely weaker than Solana. Drew, do you have a theory? And I'm just going to say this as it's a truthful statement. Why does Wall Street like Solana more than XRP when XRP is kind of a banker's coin?
Yeah, that's a very muddied up point. I think Solana offers staking and ability to basically advance into the AI agent sector way more aggressively than XRP's infrastructure. Like the DeFi infrastructure of XRP is pathetic. If you compare the DeFi realm of XRP to Solana, it's not even comparable. And I think that, yield is a more important conversation here. They're not going to hand over the keys to some new currency. And that thesis from the XRP, token holders is not real. It's hope and dreams. They're not going to hand XRP the keys to the castle, but they will take advantage of crypto to get yield increases out of it and to help cook their books better. That's in short, my opinion, why. But the Ripple stock is actually a good stock. The transfer of money on Ripple technology isn't insane to think about, but that's what I look at. Yeah.
All right. So you're bullish.
And that's from someone that has 0 brain cells. right? So imagine if I had some brain cells. What would you think about that?
Oh, we all know Drew has some brain cells. Hit the like button. Every time you hit the like button, that'll be the number of brain cells that Drew still has. Okay.
Yeah.
I know head banging, can cause some brain contusions.
Yeah.
Drew was a headbanger. He was in a metal band. He was the lead singer. Probably a lot of head banging. I don't think there's that much damage.
Well, and I think listening to fools for years on end give me their opinions and then get wrecked over the years. Also, it tries to deplete your ability for cognitive thinking here. So.
How was your head banging skills? Were they good?
Oh yeah, they're incredible. Yeah, and they're still there. I'm older now, DZ, and it gives
you get
me
a crick
headache.
in the neck now?
Yeah, I got the crink in the neck. I got to be a little bit more careful than the old days here.
I see you guys asking about the wheat options. Wheat, it's the wheat ETF is down 1%. The options down 4%. So basically where we're at yesterday. So nothing major moving. We did have a circle option. This is a bad beat story since you're bringing it up. I sold way too early, evidently. We're talking about the Clarity Act. I cut and run. I don't even remember where. I cut and run. This thing just keeps going up, Drew.
Yeah.
And so yet, sometimes you got to let those winners rides, folks. And I'm not a fan of Reddit. Hate Reddit even. But I'm seeing a lot of smart money talk about Reddit. The Reddit chart honestly just looks phenomenal. This is 2024. This is 2025 April. Then we have May 2025. And now we're beating around this area right here. The thesis on Reddit, one, technical perspective, TA, it's just looking good. Second, wartime increases engagement on Reddit. There's two paths for the Western man. You either go on X or you go on Reddit. And so, I mean, I agree with that thesis.
That's not a bad thesis at all. And Reddit is it's a place full of I don't know how best to put this. People I imagine with neck beards that weigh 400 pounds and have all the opinions.
Don't talk about my Magic the Gathering base like that,
okay? But it's a place where people discuss different concepts. Reddit used to be way better last bear market. Reddit was way better last bear market. I will say that. It's gotten pretty ugly, but I'm actually I've been reading the chat and at the end of the show I will go over my TA. I think are
you going to chart XRP because XRP community is coming in strong in the Disco fam here.
Yeah, they're just Vision really loves XRP. That's Vision's favorite crypto actually. So yeah, I'll pull up XRP's chart for him and everything like that. But Bitcoin is what I'm going to focus on, and then Solana, since there's so much disbelief about any sort of strength in the Solana chart. So,
God, speaking of Bitcoin, look at Bitcoin continuing to rise. We're still in those longs, so the longs are still doing pretty good. I'll continue to check in on them now. So Bitcoin ETFs, altcoin ETFs. What about gold ETFs, Drew? The major whales are dumping their gold. Let's look at this here. Bitcoin versus gold ETF flows point to early capital rotation signs. Bitcoin ETFs have turned net positive over the last 30 days. Gold ETF demand, though, starting to slow down. Check this. After 9 straight months of inflows, it comes even as gold prices remains elevated and sentiment around Bitcoin continues to cool. According to Kobayashi letter, the largest U.S.-backed gold ETF, GLD, recorded $3 billion outflow on Wednesday. This is the largest daily withdrawal in more than 2 years. This followed a 4.4% decline, the sharpest drop since the January 30 sell-off. Gold ETFs attracted $18 billion in January, then only $5 billion in February. It was still the strongest 2-month start to a year on record and extending the 9-month inflow streak. The latest outflows point to investors taking profits after gold's massive rally in 2025. Now, this is an interesting chart. This is tracking native units holding the actual asset rather than the dollar value. When you track these Bitcoin or gold ETFs, tracking in Bitcoin or ounces isolates the real accumulation or distribution without the distortion created by the price movements. And on the left side, this is what it looks like in dollars. You can see, gold dumping. Bitcoin, marginal increase on Bitcoin. But then look what you track in actual Bitcoin and track in actual ounces. Bitcoin is on the rise. So smart money is taking profits on gold ETFs. Smart money starting to buy altcoin ETFs and Bitcoin ETFs. This does suggest that maybe we're finally starting to see that capital rotation, Drew.
Yeah, and that rotation is something that shouldn't be taken lightly because we're talking about a I think gold's, I don't know exactly where the market cap is, but I think it's around like $30 trillion or something like that. Like it's at least 10 times more than Bitcoin's market cap. Yeah, do you have that data here? Let's see here. What's that?
Woo,
36 trillion?
36 trillion. Next
Right.
closest silver, only coming in at 5. And then you have Nvidia, Apple, Google, Microsoft, Amazon, Taiwanese semiconductor, Saudi Aramco. I'm surprised that's not down more. I shouldn't joke about that. Meta, Broadcom, and Tesla. Then finally, you see Bitcoin coming in at number 13.
Yeah. So I mean, a $36 trillion class that had a parabolic rise to the upside, gold. And now there's a lot of profits that in our opinion on this channel was going to trickle down to Bitcoin. This is a big deal because 36 trillion compared to like 1 point whatever trillion that Bitcoin is, that any small movement directly from gold into Bitcoin makes a monumental difference in the price of Bitcoin, right? So it's a time frame where kind of makes me laugh to think back to the $7,000 gold calls, the $10,000 gold calls, more as Bitcoin rose from about $2,000 to 5,500, and that was a very similar move to what it did 79 to 80 in the same situation where stagflation hits, market makers know stagflation's there, and they hammer into gold, and then they get forced back into government-backed debt after the blow off top. Very simple process there. So
XRP did hit a new all-time high. So maybe you're away from the channel for a while. No, XRP did hit a new all-time high. So when you do market cap, exceedingly high compared to where it was previously. So, people slept on XRP, and what did it do? Put in a new all-time high. So just be careful betting against it. There's one chart I didn't share with Solana before I'm going to get back into Bitcoin in a second here, but Solana, and this is price in ETH. So this is Solana price in ETH, meaning, on the right side, what percentage of one Ethereum token is one Solana token? Right now, one ETH one Sol is worth about 4% of a ETH token there. And if you go historically, it got as high as almost 10% of one ETH token. So if ETH was 2K, that meant Solana was trading at $200. Look at this. Look at this. So we're just going from the top point right here. And the reason we're doing this phase right there rather than this one, there's 2 touches versus the 1 touch versus the 1 touch. Look what happens when I drag this straight down, Drew. Let me find the middle point.
whoa. Okay. This is exciting because Solana is one of the better layer ones. There's been a death of many layer ones. And think about this. It's almost the same concept as all the people that were excited about crypto, that were talking about crypto, and now they're gone, right? Because altcoin season really left them behind. A lot of the layer 1 industry is basically silent. There's not any activity, but Solana is still alive and thriving. So the competition field for layer 1 has been whittled down very, very heavily. Seeing it with this comparison to Ethereum, it might be ready to make up some major ground against ETH. That's a really interesting chart right here.
Huge. Wait till I show you the HIMS trade in the stocks chat in our Discord. HIMS, it's the him and hers pharmaceutical or health company. They really have a good strategy. It's a monopoly strategy. They're doing what Meta did. They keep buying the smaller competitors. We gave the call. I say we. It wasn't me. I think it was John Dalton. John Dalton gave the call in the Discord. We're going to check his HIMS trade. I don't know. Is he him? We're gonna determine that. Now let's talk about scared authorities who are too frightened to hold Bitcoin. South Korea sold $21 million in recovered Bitcoin after a custody breach. South Korea prosecutors, they sold 320 Bitcoin after a phishing incident temporarily removed the crypto from their custody. The prosecutor's office said they sold this Bitcoin at market prices and transferred about $21 million worth to their national treasury. Prosecutors discovered that the crypto had been lost during custody handover back last year, August 25, when asset managers were tricked by a phishing website. The funds were later traced to a hacker's wallet. Was it the kid who hacked his dad? I don't know if it was. It wasn't. I'm just kidding here. But the Bitcoin returned to government wallet months later after authorities asked exchanges overseas to freeze the Bitcoin, freeze the address. made it difficult to liquidate the funds. This lets you know this was not a sophisticated hacker who hacks Bitcoin, steals tens of millions of dollars worth of Bitcoin, and then parks the Bitcoin on an exchange, not cold storage, not Arculus. Well, anyways, they said the hacker would then unexpectedly send back the 320 Bitcoin, which were later transferred to a secure wallet, then controlled by authorities. It was him. I'm just kidding. I hit the like button. I don't want to get demonetized for that one. But it sounds like they held it. They got scared because they lost it. Luckily got it back. And they're like, let's just sell it for fiat. Just get rid of it now. Not a good move. Not a good move, South Korea. It's cut in half. And so, I'm not going to say I approve of that sale. This sale of Bitcoin, I guess we can approve. The Winklevi, they sold more Bitcoin, transferred 130 million worth of Bitcoin to Gemini hot wallets since last week, presumably to sell. They once owned 1% of the circulating Bitcoin supply and now continue to hold 764 million worth of Bitcoin. Their total P&L on Bitcoin currently, their P&L is $1.8 billion realized gains. And when they own 10%, there's like 5 million coins, it was somewhere in the middle. They had hundreds of thousands of coins, more than Strategy does today, but there was less Bitcoin in circulation.
They've done well for themselves, right? That's a grab. I do. And I think, can we show Bitcoin on my chart here? Because there's actually TA I was going to do at the end of the show, but it's kind of playing out right now. So we have a daily green dot and the money flow is swooping up really aggressively. And I actually saw a comment that's exactly on my frame of thought right now, because we are basically building up, kind of an upward angled channel essentially on Bitcoin. But someone was bringing up June of 2022. And this has actually been something I've been looking at for a really long time. The comparison was drawn from the level of fear that we hit in this same downward candle wick where we hit a 5. This one was actually a 9 when we hit this, but essentially this does look like a pretty similar pattern, and people are looking for 40K, and I understand why, because I like cheaper Bitcoin too, but the actual like Pico bottom where we ended up falling all the way down to was only 10%, right around 10.9% below that wick. And so we've created the same level of fear on this cascade down as we have in our current situation, and 10% lower than where we're actually at right now. Where do you think that brings us to, D? Where do you think that brings us to? And I didn't even double, the 54 call was not based off this. So 10.9% below this wick where the max fear is installed. We're not ready to get out of the bear market, but we are building up a bottom. That brings you down to $53,244. Exactly what I was thinking before.
Nice. And the recent pump puts the profit into 107%. I was all, this idiot was going to be like, I don't know, guys, we're the shorts came in, maybe I'll cut and run. No, I'm going to do the live show. I'm going to power through. I'm going to ignore my own portfolio so I can provide you a nice, entertaining, and educational content. And I was rewarded. So if you want to reward us with a little smash of the like button, we really would appreciate it, folks. We do put a lot of effort and try to give you the best crypto show, period, okay, with a capital P. Now, this just kind of sums up how we're feeling. Before we get into any kind of updates, we are going to talk about Hegseth's inflammatory comments at 8 a.m. But war, very volatile in the short term, inflationary in the long term. Printing money's the only way out. Do you have Bitcoin? Remember that, folks. Remember that. We did talk about Solana allocation by these huge 13F filers. It's not just Solana. Solana wasn't mentioned in that article, but I did want to bring you the Chainlink management as well. When you just look at who's investing in this, Citadel's in there, Susquehanna, Jane Street. Now, maybe they're holding some to sell, but I also think some of this is just going to be spot exposure. They're not going to buy this unless they thought there's some upside on some sort. So if you look at the allocations, this is what early institutional positioning looks like before real size comes in. He is saying, hold on to the Chainlink.
Yeah.
You love some Chainlink. I know you put out a Chainlink video not too long ago.
My heart is still with Chainlink. Like, I insulated myself from like a lot of the losses that would have, not really losses because I've been in it for so long, but I'm
gonna close 75% of that trade, by the
You
way.
close a big portion of it. Good.
I'm closing 75%.
Yeah, so Chainlink is like it accumulates for a very long time, and something we need to remind ourselves, even if we do see massive market makers like Jane Street selling, there's also buying on the other side of the bill once the price dumps. Let's check your trades again.
I mean, it's just that I just looked at the account balance. I'm happy.
Hey,
That's all I'm gonna
all
say.
right,
I'm just
all right,
happy. All right, folks.
all
I'm
right.
happy.
It's
all right?
okay. Be happy. Be happy. It's healthy to be happy.
All right. Well, let me break down Tau real quick, and then I want to share. I have the Tau chart pulled up. Oh, yeah, baby. This is a good explanation of how Tau works. I'm not going to read the whole thing. It's just it kind of breaks down because Tau, simple to explain on one end, but when you're like, well, what does it actually do? It gets a little bit more complicated. The simple explanation: AI, it's Bitcoin AI. 21 million. It's for AI. Well, okay, but what does that actually mean? This is what it actually means. Tau is organized in 128 active subnets. Each subnet has its own specific task, like for AI, text generation, image analysis, protein folding for scientists, financial modeling, deep fake detection. Anyone can build a model and plug it into a subnet. Each subnet runs a competition. Models are ranked by their performance, quality, usefulness. The best performers earn Tau tokens. Ones that underperform get nothing. They call it proof of intelligence. Same basic idea as proof of work. Instead of arbitrary hashes, nodes are producing actual intelligence other parts of the network can use. The scarcity models Bitcoin. They hit their first halving just a few months ago, December 25. 7,200 Tau were released daily to 3,600, per block. 75% of holders staking their tokens, locking supply further. Is Tau the Bitcoin of AI? That's a bet on whether decentralized AI infrastructure becomes foundational. As for DeFi, maybe it does. Maybe the incumbents win instead. But understanding what is actually building is the starting point for forming that view. Tau, one of the few altcoins I've been buying lately. Tau, Hype, Link, maybe throw Solana on there. But this is a Tau pattern I identified months and months and months ago before I think we even formed this one. No, maybe it was while we were in this one. But this is what I noticed with Tau. It goes into a down-sloping parallel range, and then it blasts out of there like the Challenger.
Huge.
Like a Falcon heavy, okay? Then we have another, bear market. Maybe it is more. I shouldn't joke about that. What's wrong with me? Then we have another parallel range. It retests, and every single time when you zoom in, there is a retest. There's always, except for the first couple. What am I looking at? Oh, okay. Here we go. Okay, we haven't done it. That's what it is. So zooming out, back out. Consolidate, pump, consolidate, pump, consolidate, pump, consolidate, pump. Drew, this is our first sign. Now zoom into the daily. We might be breaking free. The monkey might be getting out of the cage on Tau, folks. Now, I'm not saying it has to. I'm just saying that's a interesting pattern. Very interesting support.
Dude,
it's looking good for Tau.
When you put that last channel on, I remember there was all the reason in the world with the amount of fear that was out in the altcoin sector that we were going to sub $100 on Tau. And you still put this channel here with a bounce at about $150 just from that basic, hardcore trend line that has been bouncing off of.
I mined Tau when it was less than $5. Right now it's $200.
That is savage. And
hold on, read his next comment. I sold at $6. He didn't say that, but that would suck if true.
Well, there's a whole subnet ecosystem under this thing that I was looking at the charts of a lot of these things that, there's smaller market caps and stuff, but these are flyers that I'm taking small risks on, So
God, it's crazy. Yeah, I mean, I definitely threw down this bottom trend line a while ago, and I mean, you just see it. It's nothing crazy, right? I mean, we're just kind of like looking, and then also it was first place. We're kind of somewhat consolidates, cools down, then goes on the rocket ship there. I am liking Tau. I am definitely liking Tau. Any Tau under 167 seems like a pretty good deal. I bet everyone's happy if they accumulated under there.
Yeah. I just close my eyes and buy when it's like anywhere near 150, even under $200. Like it feels fine. I'm just, because
I bought Pulse Chain. What's Hex? Bought some Hex. I just closed my eyes and hit buy. I don't know what I was going to buy.
I am scared to look at the Hex chart. I hope that they do well. I really do hope that it comes back. But yeah, Hex is down bad. Hex is down bad. Bitcoin's trying to make that move to $72,000 right now, about 71.6. Things are looking pretty good. And think about the context of what's going on right now. And we're still pumping like this. Gold seeing a pullback, oil's whipsawing by 20, 30% in a day, unheard of market movements. And Bitcoin is sitting here just chunking up. Doesn't leave out, my long term, like we have this growing channel. Usually you come down and test support. But yeah, look at it. We're already at the midpoint of this channel here. Things are moving really quick right now.
And we're looking at this on larger time frames. That's why you're seeing some of the wicks kind of go out of there. When you zoom in, to the smaller time frames, you do see it peaking out, peaking above there. Yeah, this is looking very bullish, very, very bullish. I would keep an eye out on this upper range, 72, but this is where the bears might get slaughtered, folks. So I'm not saying be a bear at that level. I'm just saying, keep an eye out on that level. If you are going to be trading, I certainly don't hate taking some profits around that level. Now, I want to throw out this pomp take. Let me pontificate on pomp here. I don't think this is going to be a good prediction. Inflation remains under 1% in America. One, I don't even know if this is true. And, the trueflation has gotten criticism in the past. Why are you weighing wooden number 2 pencils so high on the list and milk is down on the list? And you're like, oh, because milk spiked and pencils are all time low. That's just a joke example. But you see a lot of that with these inflation metrics. They'll be like, well, this is 5% of the weight this month, but next month it's only 4%. The month after that, it's up to 7%. And you're like, okay, you're just massaging the data to give you the numbers that you want here. But he's saying inflation remains under 1%. The oil price is a distraction from the deflationary forces swallowing the U.S. economy. The Fed should be aggressively cutting rates. We're not seeing impending rate cuts. It's not what we're seeing with the poly market. And I do think the oil contagion, is it going to be smooth over very quickly? I guess it's going to take us to what we're seeing here. Hexeth, we will not relent till Iran is defeated. This is breaking from 8 hours ago. We're going to go talk about his statements in a little bit. Trump advisors urging him to find the exit ramp, fearing a political backlash. He said he's eyeing a quick end to the war in Iran. He said this while the markets were open, as some of his advisors privately urged him to look for an exit plan amid the spiking oil prices. He also said, we're way ahead of schedule, adding he thought it would be over very soon. He did this while speaking to reporters at Mar-a-Lago yesterday. Now, some officials are saying as long as Tehran continued to attack regional countries and Israel still wanted to strike Iranian targets, it's unlikely the U.S. could easily withdraw from the war. Trump in his Monday remarks said he was prepared to continue targeting Iran if the country continued blocking the flow of oil through the Strait of Hormuz. Trump won't stop fighting until he can claim a satisfactory victory, senior administration official said. And he's made conflicting comments about the war. Last week, he was seeking unconditional surrender. Drew, what does unconditional surrender mean? We haven't seen that since Japan and Germany 80 years ago.
Yeah,
that means a total supplication, a total kissing of the ring, licking of the boots. I don't see that after we took out their Ayatollah.
And on the day that we did it too. I mean, it's something that is going to last generations, honestly, within that whole subsect. I don't think that we're going to lose this, but it is putting pressure on those Gulf states. There's a lot of major investments that were just guaranteed to the U.S. for AI infrastructure expansion and all that. Now tourism is getting hit. Dubai real estate industry is getting hit. And
the markets are getting hit. Now, he did wait for the markets to close after he said that the war might be over soon. The markets are closed. He would then later add in a later speech, we could go further and we're going to go further. This is, signaling a little bit of increased escalation here. Tehran has retaliated by targeting U.S. bases, as well as several countries in the Middle East with missiles and drones, also airports, oil refineries. And so far, 7 U.S. service members have been killed. 8 have been seriously wounded since the fight began on the 28th. That's the rest from that article. We want to do the Hegseth press conference this morning. Said Iran badly losing, but today is going to be the most intense. He said it's going to be our heaviest day of bombardment. We will not relent until the enemy is totally and decisively defeated, but we'll do so in our time and our choosing. So now we're starting to see a little bit of mixed signals here. Earlier, the foreign minister said negotiations with the U.S. off the table after Trump said the war will be over very soon, but the U.S. military campaign still has further to go. So it does seem like the exit ramp isn't happening, at least today. That's for sure. We're going to have the heaviest day of strikes. Kobayashi letter. This is their March 3rd conflict playbook. Covered this last week, just real quickly. Began with steps 1 and 2. He's basically saying we're nearing step 8. Let's just cut to the chase. What is this step 8? We don't need to go through 1 through 7. But Kobayashi's been pretty good with the Trump playbooks. They had one for the tariff playbook. This is the war playbook. Step number 8, market political feedback loop. One of the most overlooked elements is the degree which financial markets become part of the negotiation. He's consistently demonstrated awareness of the market performances and inflation expectations as part of this strategy. A prolonged conflict that drives oil prices higher would directly conflict with 3 core priorities. That's going to be himself as the peace leader, reducing inflation, lowering gas. Elevated energy costs feed directly into consumer sentiment and inflation data, which in turn influence electoral dynamics during the most important midterm of our lives, according to him. According to JP, it's every time it is. According to JP Morgan, a closure could send oil prices to 120, 130. We already saw that. Some are saying 200. This would imply a spike in U.S. CPI inflation to 5%. Last time we had inflation at 5%, March 23. That's when the Fed was aggressively hiking rates. So in the current environment, it does look like as we're getting close to 90, equity markets falling, gas prices rising, the probability of negotiation increases substantially. So keep an eye out on the deal and the narrative framing. So the next step after total bombardment today, the art of the deal.
Yeah. You had something very important you brought up, adjusting for inflation and comparing where oil went to back when we breached $140.
That is right. That is right.
That was,
let me pull up that chart. So
yeah,
we are looking at
that.
This is just WTI crude. If you want to find this chart, this is the one that goes back to like 1870. What does it go back to?
It was way back.
1861. So it goes into the 1860s. Don't Google that decade. Moving forward here. Yeah, oil. This is what I noticed. Oil went to $120 a barrel. It retraced. Drew, silver, $120 an ounce, and then it retraced. Bitcoin, $120,000 a Bitcoin, and then retraced. How come everything's going to 120 and retracing? What is the next asset at like 80, 90?
Oh, Lord. Is it Litecoin? Is it Litecoin?
God, don't say Litecoin. You're probably right, though.
That's kind of terrifying, though, when you look at that graph. And if you adjust for inflation, that would bring it above $200 a barrel. If you're adjusting for inflation where it's at right now. I really hope we don't see that. But this it's shock and awe. I guess this is Trump's actual shock and awe is what happens to oil overnight when this all breaks out here.
We got Jandrew. One of my Facebook girlfriends, Melissa, says she just filled up her SRV for $8.29 a gallon. She lives in Thousand Oaks. Takes us to what Drew was mentioning earlier. I put out a short looking at oil. Oil was higher in 08. Let's go back. You can see it right here. Oil spiked $147 an ounce. Adjust for inflation, this is over $200 a barrel. So 120, if we adjust for inflation, there's a lot of room for this one to go because there's been a lot of money printing since this time. Again, think about it. 08, we were just about to do the first serious round of money printing that we've seen over the last couple of decades. Yeah, we're talking about oil supposed to, I think it was it 226, something like that. It was a very, very high number. So oil could get a lot more expensive, folks.
Yeah, and our gas here is around like 320, 315. Costco, it's like 310. But California, they add a lot of taxes on top of the actual price of oil, and that's where you get the $8 a gallon. My heart would be going out to Californians, especially if we did breach and go to the 140 plus range. I mean, that's where people are gonna, they're just going to be not coming into work. Things are going to get really, really weird.
Adjust for inflation, the number was $217 when you adjust for inflation.
That is rough. I don't want to imagine that for the.
Oh yeah, $200. I mean, honestly, $180 is anything 150. Yeah, if we go past the previous all-time high, never mind. Just for inflation, it could be even higher. Near 220. The whole earth will slow down. You'll see a severe pullback of business activity, GDPs, unemployment will rise. This would be a long, long and painful road ahead of us if oil continues to spike. So that's why it's so important for Trump to get this lower. But we got the last page of the, I don't know, differing narratives. This is the latest post, Truth Social. This is Trump's last night after markets close. If Iran does anything that stops the flow of oil within the Strait of Hormuz, they will be hit by the U.S. 20 times harder than they've been hit thus far. Additionally, we will take out easily destroyable targets that will make it virtually impossible for Iran to ever be built back as a nation again. Death, fire, and fury will rain upon them. But I hope and pray that it does not happen. So conflicting here.
It's like Jake Lang has control of his Truth Social account. I feel like with the way that's worded, because it's the president of the U.S.
Yeah, this is a gift from the U.S. to China and all the nations that heavily use the Hormuz Strait. Hopefully, it is a gesture that will be greatly appreciated. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President Donald J. Trump. So heavy escalation that we're seeing here from Trump, and we're also seeing, I don't want to say escalation, but a line in the sand for Trump. And now this line in the sand is impacting the Clarity Act, Drew.
Yeah.
Trump said he is not going to sign anything, including the Clarity Act, unless he gets some laws passed. Have you seen this story?
Yeah, and it's a pretty important law that he's talking about. I would say that it's an important law. Might cause for more boring times for some altcoins.
Let's talk about the Clarity off ramp here. Trump's threat to block Congress over voter ID law leaves the crypto bill now on shakier ground. I really had to parse this article to not get any kind of opinion. Jesse Hamilton was the editor, or the author, the writer of this piece. He's CoinDesk deputy managing editor. He's based in DC. Jesse Hamilton, whom works for CoinDesk, writing about this story, has no crypto holdings.
Oh, good.
I love that a crypto publication has authors that, I don't even hold any Bitcoin.
Nice.
That disqualifies you for writing for CoinDesk, in my opinion. Period.
It's kind of weird. Some would say it's a conflict of interest. They hold it. They want it to go up. And, I can understand that.
It's like working for Motley Fool's commodities, gold page, and you don't even have a gold wedding ring. You got like tungsten,
right?
And like zero gold,
right? Or like a real estate writer analyst that doesn't own any real estate. Like that's definitely one. They don't even have any feet to the fire here. But let's
no. So he holds XRP, but he's like, XRP is not crypto.
Oh.
Anyways, here's his article. The crypto industry manages top priority to get the market structure legislation through the U.S. Senate and to Trump's desk. He might not sign if he holds true to the threats he's been making to withhold his signature from any other legislation before the election bill. This election bill is going to have identification requirements, proof of citizenship demands, strict limits on mail-in ballots. He, quote, I'm willing to just sort of say, I'm not going to sign anything until this is approved. Gulp, if you're waiting for the Clarity Act. He acknowledged that the effort, a new version that's already passed the House, will have a difficult time in the Senate, where he suggested there are 4 or 5 Republican lawmakers who are not on board. So we have a couple Republican holdouts here. These holdouts might prevent the Clarity Act. Honestly, I haven't even gone to the poly market odds yet. What do we have for Clarity? No one cares about the Oscars. When's the last time you watched the Oscars, or even a Best Picture winner from the Oscars?
Yeah. It's probably been about 20 years, 19 years since I when my parents had it on the television and I, decided to sit down and watch it. It's still a high chance.
Yeah, it's still high. I mean, you go back, it was 76% at one point. You go back, earlier in the month, it was 84%. But it was as low as, 40%, 40. God, it's so sensitive trying to get this mouse there. Yeah, it was as low as 39%. So a lot higher than that.
Man. So it's a pretty partisan political atmosphere. There's a demand to sign the SAVE Act and get the SAVE Act
Oh,
through.
no.
What's that?
Look at the SAVE Act odds. This ain't passing. Unless you have inside knowledge, in which case, go get you a 6x on this poly market bet.
Yeah, because a lot of people are betting that the Clarity Act will go through. But if this is the thing that is the linchpin that might stop the whole process, that is looking grim.
I hate to even think about doing these poly market Congress-based bets because there's inside information that I do not have.
That's
and
true.
I don't want to be shark chum.
That's true. That is very true. I feel like both are pretty important laws. I wish we could have both of them go through. What do you think is more important, the SAVE or the Clarity Act? Easy, just for your personal opinion, which one do you think is more important?
We're kind of touching the third rail here. I'll just say, free and fair elections is what every American wants, and fair, emphasis on fair. I'll just leave it at that because, at the end of the day, YouTube is not the biggest fan of this topic.
That's true. All right, we'll move on for it, but that's kind of weird that it's not, something we could openly discuss. Isn't that kind of interesting to think about, right? The world's biggest communication platform, the world's biggest economy, the main thing that decides where it's going to go. Kind of got to be mum's the word on there. That makes you think. I'm just throwing it out there. Okay?
Well, look at what Fox News had to pay Dominion.
Okay, now we really got to move on.
No, that's just a public case. I'm not weighing an opinion on the validity of anyone's statements there. It's just that was a huge payout.
Yeah.
Almost bankrupted Murdoch, and Murdoch's a very friendly ally of powerful people, and he still got. Now, U.S. banking lobby, speaking of politics, look at this. We got the OCC. Yeah, you know me. Now we have a banking lobby suing them over the crypto trust charters. Major news for XRP holders. XRP, you're getting attacked here. So what are we talking about? It's a U.S. trade group. It's made up of big banks. Oh, they must be so honest and, truthful here. Well, they're considering suing the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency. Why? Because they granted crypto firms bank charters. And their theory is going to put Americans and the financial system at risk. The banking group is called the Bank Policy Institute. I did a little bit of sleuthing into them. It's deceptively boring. So I didn't get a chance to really start pulling on the threads in the back end, where's their source of funds? Is this just like Larry Fink's, nephew? I didn't get a chance to find that out yet. But who are they, targeting? The crypto companies that got a bank license: BitGo, Fidelity, Ripple, and Paxos. So if you hold XRP, OCC, they gave them a license, and now this big bank group, this big bank lobby wants to sue the OCC for helping out XRP. What the hell, man?
Yeah.
So maybe XRP isn't the banker's coin.
I don't think it is. I absolutely don't think it is. There was a lot of individuals that made their way into Ripple, though, over the last few years. And that's where the whole lore, of XRP comes into place. You have so many, like Rosie Rios, who was on our $100 bill for some time. She was like one of the leads of the Treasury. She joined the Ripple Council. And so there's a lot of weird overlap that's happened over the last few years. It's given a lot of fuel to the fire to the XRP people. That's why they're so sure of themselves. Again, I just have a hard time believing that the banking infrastructure is going to hand the keys to the castle over to a privately owned coin, right? I mean, it's just largely privately held coin. That doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah. Now, I do see this comment, and again, a very risky subject. It's because it takes elections away from states. Now, it takes some state autonomy for making their own rules. Very different than abandoning the electoral college system, which, probably not a lot of people are a big fan of, but, a pretty important distinction there. I do want to just clarify that. Let's talk about the Discord here. Hymns pump 83% today as Iran signals no lead from war. I'm just kidding. I have no idea why it's up that much, but congrats to anyone who holds it. Well, you know who saw this? John Dalton buying hymns here for a midterm play. When did John Dalton pull the trigger? 224. So, less than a month ago. Let's go to the HIMS chart and check February 24th. This is the daily. Drew, February 24th.
Wow. Holy cow.
These trades are in the Discord. This is under the stocks chat. I started putting my metal options and energy options in here. You're right. One of them was gated. Oh my God, we got more trades coming in. All right, got some profit. Ooh, nice. What was that one? The render. Okay, so it looks like that take profit one. I did close 109%, and we got more trades that are going live. This is 11:03. Chat, I told you.
I know.
I told you. Let us know when the trades come in the Discord. You guys didn't let us know.
No.
I would have aped into that long with my profits.
What is him? Is it one of those is it a stiff subject matter?
What is HIMS? I'm him.
Okay.
What? No, you're asking a serious question here. What is HIMS?
Yeah, I'm just curious what it is.
Telehealth company.
All right, let's look at it.
I'm scared to look at these ads or kind of advertisement. Hims and hers, care made simple, quality, confidential care. It's for if you're trying to looks max and you're trying to get the legal stuff. Yeah, I mean, look at that. GLP-1 injections online, regrow hair. It's basically if you're a boomer who can't follow clavicular, and you don't want to know about gesture maxing and cortisol spikes. This is the looks maxing for boomers.
Okay.
And health. I'm just kind of joking when I say, I'm being derivative when I say looks maxing.
Okay. So ED assessment, injections into your jawline, things of that. All right. That makes sense.
Peptide, no, I think it's more like, things that are easily attainable, legal, not, things that made, I'll just say it, Ben wig out, not the crazy stuff, not the Chinese peptides that are mysterious and you don't know what's in them.
Fair enough. Well, I just suggest going to the gym. I don't know. I personally, I smoke a cigarette every day.
Yeah, hair, weight loss, all types of stuff. And
yeah.
I mean, chat, should I use finasteride?
No.
And what's the other one? Minoxidil? I shouldn't use minoxidil either.
I can't imagine you with hair. Don't you dare go there. Okay. I've never known you with hair. I wouldn't even know what happened. The algo would get all messed up. Our thumbnails would be all messed up.
Yeah, I'm not the spokesperson. Testosterone replacement therapy. 10 years, those looks maxing will most likely be rec maxing. Most, yes. The ones that just look at their body fat percentage, that's probably a good thing to care about. Yeah. Bald dudes do it better. I need to come in a big wig one day.
Well, and I went home 2 weeks ago and I was like, honey, I'm shaving my head bald. Okay. I need to start the bull market back up early. I got to shave my head bald. She would not let it happen because she can't imagine me without a head of hair. The best I could do is a mohawk, and that's not really the look. So I just kind of held off on it.
What about the faux hawk?
The faux hawk? I used to have the faux hawk, but now, I don't know. I've definitely enjoyed the mullet. My son is super jealous of the mullet, so he's grown out his own mullet, and it just kind of fits who I am. So I'm going to hold off on shaving my head bald. I'm not there yet. We're not there yet. I will shave it when I feel like the money flow is about to clip back up on Bitcoin and I start hammering into altcoins again. Then I will shave my head bald.
Bald guy with a Bitcoin scalp tattoo would be based. I mean, if I'm doing a logo, some are going to say, no, it needs to be the Cardano logo. The reason I can't do the Cardano logo, well, it looks like an anus. So I'm not going to put that on my head. Yeah, I said it, Drew. I am not going to put a starfish on my head. I'm not going to do it. No. So maybe it does need to be Bitcoin.
Dude, you remember when I first started, I had a Bitcoin shaved into my skull. It wasn't tattooed. It was shaved into my skull, though.
I'm the quintessential before guy. Come on now. Come on. All right, look. I'm in my 40s. I was slaying in my 20s, folks. Okay? You guys have no idea. You're talking about hymns. I was him. Period. Ask your mom. I'm just joking. I'm joking. We're just kind of joking and having a good time here. Drew, back to crypto, back to some trades. I heard you got some trades. Did you get in any of the Discord trades?
No, what I'm doing, I've been arguing with you about hair, but really, man, like the weekly, I have some opinions about it. I really feel pretty dang strong about that 54 eventually, but we got some time to keep cooking up and to the right. And I really feel that this time frame is similar to the summer of 2022, where we have that initial washdown. Um, like right here is basically where you created one of the highest levels of fear that Bitcoin had ever seen. And we created that wick that was largely eaten up and we started chopping to the upside, but we still had one last flush out. And that was what faked a lot of people into thinking that we were going much, much lower. $10,000 Bitcoin was on the way. This is only 10% below this wick. And I really feel like the structure of the money flow is the same. Look, you start entering red money flow and you're able to start clipping up to a degree. You have VWAP moving up, you have the moving average moving up. Oh, basically, this entire structure looks very similar to this. You have the moving average is starting to move up. You have this moment where the weekly is given that, just given that hope that people are all looking for, that we're going to get out of this and that the bull market is back on before one final flush out to the downside. And I just really want to emphasize this. I think that Bitcoin, to a degree, has a structural pattern to it from the halving. And this is where, the bottom end, about $54,000, is a full on, I am actively buying spot Bitcoin in this zone the whole way, this entire zone, but $54,000. I'll just set it at 55 because I'm not going to care. It's for my kids anyways. This is where I can just hammer. I can hammer spot Bitcoin in this zone. And right now, the turbulent zone that I've had marked out on Bitcoin for a couple weeks, we are just about to bump our head into this again. Last time we did, it ate up that entire wick. And that wick being eaten up, gives me some signal that there's some pause, right? There's a little bit of pause because we're not off to the races yet. And really, the candles look similar to where we had just another 30-40% drawdown. But the thing that people don't keep in mind is that the price to produce Bitcoin at this time was $19,000. Where we're at currently, and I think price to produce Bitcoin plays into where the bottom is for this asset, is at $74,000. It's in this red zone right now. It's acting as resistance. So we're basically already there. In this previous time frame, we were above the price to produce by a long shot. So now zooming in on the daily, this is actually showing the most velocity to the upside. And I was calling this out yesterday. We had printed a green dot and had started to move up for sure. I am being cognizant that this is turbulence. I think I saw Crypto Face use the term turbulence as well. I don't know if maybe he watches the show or it feels like turbulence when you hit these levels. But this is where you're going to see some selling pressure. It's tough to get over this zone. And if we could skyrocket above this and prove this 74 as support, I feel like we're setting up the precedent to cook, and, maybe run up to 80, run into that spot and have some battle. But this time frame, I'm not getting too ahead of myself. I'm mostly interested in spot Bitcoin, but it is important to note where the strength in altcoins is. And I think Solana is one of the stronger altcoins. So the washout zone for Solana, we have this wick now, but if Bitcoin does something similar in this pattern compared to the 2022 pattern that I just showed you, that would mean that I got some lower targets to watch out for on Solana as well. So Solana, the main point that I have focus on is original resistance, $56. Original OG resistance right here, and tried to act as support but failed when we were on our way into the bear market again at $56. Then you have basically the bull flag build out. This was memes had come back in, a lot of the NFT sector swapped over to memes, and this bull flag was created in Solana, and it was exactly at that same position at $56. So there's a lot of old school volume at this level, and I do feel that Solana can defend itself at $55. That from where it's at right now would be a pullback of about 34%. And everyone would say, oh, it's over. That's it. We're cooked. We're done. And it basically would be a washout down to old school support levels. So I like Solana from a structural standpoint. I think it's a strong project. But I am being cognizant about the potential, headwinds that we are facing in the crypto market. And I do want to actually check out Coin360 to see what the landscape looks like, see what the runners look like right now. So XLM showing some strength, Hype showing a little bit of strength, $34. Hype is, one of the ones that I'm keeping a pretty big focus on because they're producing a lot of revenue. While the chips are down for most of these altcoins, Hype has continued to show strength. Hey, Pi token, my scam token is up big. Doge up. SHIB, I'm not touching with a 10-foot pole. But I think it's actually fair to pick on Aave right now. So I want to go over to Aave's chart first. And if you guys have products you're curious if they're dead, if you're curious if they're doing well while the chips are down for alts, because that's what matters. It's not about how hard you can punch. It's about how well you can take a punch and keep moving forward, right? That's the name of the game here. So Aave, it's still by and large the leader of the DeFi sector. I have a level. I actually had marked out this, kind of back the truck up spot at around 81. I feel like the strength in Aave lays at $81. And we haven't gotten there yet. We're at 114 right now. So in general, this actually doesn't look too bad. I'll get rid of this fib just for the time being. I want to go look at DeFi Llama. I want to go look at DeFi Llama on Aave to see if we have strength in terms of TVL bill, right? And DeFi Llama will show you revenue. It'll show you total value locked, all that good stuff. Ondo is worth a look. I'll check out Ondo. Absolutely. Let's go to Aave. First, I want to check out just lending. So the whole ecosystem of lending is where this will take me to. So TVL within lending particularly is landing at $54 billion in TVL. And actually, holy cow, folks, this is a great, great sign. A swoop to the upside, bounce. Hillbilly TA proved formidable once again. It bounced really nicely off that $50 billion mark. And it's actually swooping to the upside right now. Now we go down to the leaders here. Aave is still by and large the big leader. It is below $30 billion, which is notable. Morpho has just continued. God, Morpho is eating lunch. It's at 6.7 billion now. Holy cow. Let's go to Aave though, particularly. Let's see. So we got fees in the orange. And you can see the fees had a nice spike right here, but the price was still on the cascade to the downside. General TVL does not look too weak on Aave. General TVL does not look too weak, right? If we get a snap crash moment and a final capitulation for Bitcoin, that gets us down to that $80 mark. But I'm not hating an entry point right here because, I think Aave is going to be around. Yeah, Morpho's catching up to it. And Morpho's a much smaller market cap, so you get better gains out of it. But Aave is very, very strong. Let's see here. DZ, that oil player, first stock win ever, right on. Yeah, DZ absolutely crushed that those options on oil. He's probably got some of the bigger percentage gains of, like, I haven't seen any analysts been able to show 1,300% moves. I'm sure they're out there, but I haven't seen them. If I'm getting Aave anywhere under this essentially $150 mark, I think long term I'm feeling good. And this is when I look at altcoins, I don't take 50% of my portfolio in altcoin exposure. It's heavily Bitcoin. The more cycles I live, the more Bitcoin maximal-ish I get. This is actually something interesting as well that we got to look at on Aave. Just this basic trend line matching up with the point of control of this accumulation zone here, essentially matching up right there at about 75 to 80 bucks. So that's something interesting. Soul meme coins, I don't think. Yeah, Soul meme coins, you got like 24 hours to get in and get out before they die. That's a quick rundown. Let's go to Ondo, right? Let's go to one of the more maddening projects in crypto, which is Ondo Finance. Yes. Ondo had its good times. I was able to make some money in the last bull market for sure. I remember I started buying Second Amendment items and barbecue food with it when we'd lost this dollar moment on this final failure. I got out. The chart was driving me nuts, and we had ran into this basically $1.13 three times, failed. This is what really tipped me off is once I saw that the money flow failed to go green and we started heading back to the red. This is market cipher money flow. Then I knew that it was kind of an oh shit moment. Actually, I got out of the way of the October 10th washout with that. Now looking at that, but once you lose money flow coming back up into the green, it's a pretty sure sign of pain, right? So I got out of everything. Left nothing behind on this. And now I'm sitting here looking at this. Is actually what me and Crank were thinking about earlier. A little squiggly line. It's actually playing out pretty decently because Ondo is one of the more beat down projects. And you're basically at initial release resistance and support spots right here. Like basically at 20 cents to 28 cents. So looking at this, I mean, yeah, we might get that wash down and get like slightly below her. Maybe I'll be able to snag it if I go back into it for 15. This is the more maddening part about Ondo is the TVL has just been going to all-time highs. Let's actually go. Let's dissect the fees. Let's make sure the fees are back in this data up here because we got a lot of TVL. The TVL is just going ballistic. The fees are holding up decently, and these are, I think, by the day. Let's make sure. So January, these are by the week. These are by the week, these fee levels. So let's actually look at this real close. We got to take a good long look at this one. So the fees are coming in about 163,000. Is that a week? 24-hour volume. Earnings annualized, fees and revenue. So this is something I want to pick apart. So on the 30-day, you're only making 3.9 million. That's an issue. That's an issue. I don't like the amount of fees I'm seeing here. I don't like the amount of fees. That's a problem. So really for Ondo, yeah, the TVL is going nuts. If I'm taking a risk play on this, I'm not going to be putting anything more than like 3% of my portfolio into this, buying this low. I really don't like how the fees are. I really don't like how the fees are super low, though. I will say that about that. Now let's see here. Yeah, maybe they do a mechanism change on how the fees are pulled in, and then we could see that metric really start to turn over in a positive manner. But I think fees matter a lot now that there's been so much competition. You should make a video on Market Cipher. Maybe. I love using. Actually, you know what? I include Market Cipher in like every video I do for the most part here. So Trump is the worst thing to happen to crypto. I don't know. I think worse things have happened to crypto. What? Dude, I sold Ondo and ADA. Right. So I'm kind of a more brutal analyst than most. I just have learned that they don't care. If your bags go down, if the altcoin bags die, no one's there to save you at the bottom. And I'm in this to take care of my family by investing aggressively when I feel like the time is right. And simply put, Bitcoin dominance it's looking kind of strong. I hate to say this, but Bitcoin dominance is setting up a scenario of higher low. And yeah, we were looking for that cascade to the downside for fun for our altcoins. A little kind of concerned because it's also got a daily green dot on Bitcoin dominance. Check it out on the weekly here. A green dot on the weekly. Okay. Bitcoin dominance might be not wanting to lose much ground from this zone here. So I'm keeping cognizant of that. I want to go to, you know what? Kelly's making us kind of creepy AI master race, I guess you could say. Kelly is like going absolutely bonkers on the AI agents for us. And I'm super excited to see Kelly in Vegas, IRL again. He moved out to Vegas, and we're going to be going out there for Bitcoin conference as well. Just a side note before, because there's more coins, but let me know in the comments if you are going to Bitcoin Vegas. I'm working on some stuff in the background. Okay. So let me know if you are going to Bitcoin Vegas ahead of time. For sure, because I got some things cooking. Yes, Crank is going to be out there. Hell yes. Good to see you, Crank. Yeah, Dominance is not really wanting to give us the altcoin bear market rally that we were kind of hoping for here. So just calling a spade a spade. I don't see it there. Now let's go back to altcoins here. I want to see if there's anything I like that's on good sale. Most things are going to probably be pumpy to a degree. All right, you're going to see vaporware pump. Oh, look, Shiba Inu up by 9%. And we get excited about the 9% pump. Let's look at the all-time on Shiba. This looks beautiful on the daily. Looks beautiful on the daily. Let's go to the weekly. Not great. Not great, right? This is like you're seeing OG hardcore holder support, right? Altcoins, they'll leave you wishing that you didn't buy the momentum, right? Altcoins will leave you wishing you didn't buy the momentum here. Let's see. I want to go down to see what the midnight might be giving me that entry point. I was actually one. I wanted to buy midnight cheap. So like 4.5 cents. I'm liking. I like looking at the losers to see if there's anything I like that's on sale. A lot of people tell me, don't fade this, don't fade that. I think the vast majority of these projects are going to end up dead, over the course of the next few years. So nothing's really like popping out that I want to like hammer into. It's kind of like flatline. The biggest gainers is really probably going to be a lot of OG holder support, like what we're seeing with Shiba. You know, one that is surprising though, in terms of real world asset interest is Stellar. And, I'm cognizant that it's lower highs through each bull market cap, similar type thing, but actually the market cap hit a slightly higher high in the last bull market, which is interesting to see. Stellar is doing pretty good in real world asset. It's not dominant in real world assets, but it is there and it is acknowledged and it is being used. So, that's actually kind of an interesting point that Stellar's price is at right now. If we get that further flush, then you're going to be looking in the guts of these accumulation zones at like 10 to 13 cents, but it's 16 cents right now. Not too terribly different. And again, I'm not hammering these alts right now. I'm mostly interested in trading and buying Bitcoin cheap. And then when I do, here's the plan for my altcoin hammering. And, then you'll see my haircut change drastically. Is once I see, kind of a secondary deeper wave down on Bitcoin's money flow, which it is angling that direction. Once I see this bad boy set up something like this, a scenario like that, and it's probably going to take us into after the summer of 2026 to see this type of movement happen. And that's, one of the best case scenarios if it's not as deep as these money flow pullbacks had been. Then, generally after I see this kind of structure on the money flow, that's where I start hammering in. And the reason why is because that's right before things get good. You can compare and contrast the same type of pattern set up here on Bitcoin where you have the 3-part movement here. September, I was able to wait until September of 2023 to hammer altcoins. And look at September. Once I had confluence that, yes, we are having good times. We ate up this weekly move back down like nothing. And we started to move back to the upside. Like ICP was $3. It ran to 16.19. AVAX was $10. It ran to like 50, $60. So buying right before the real chaos is about to start up again is where I make the most money with altcoins, right? And I look for confluence on Bitcoin first and foremost. But we are doing pretty damn good on Bitcoin. Not saying it's, all hell's about to break loose. Think about what just happened. If you say all of the things out loud that the US just did, You think I'm explaining some kind of movie set, some kind of action movie to you? This is reality. And Bitcoin is still holding above $60,000, right? And this is on the weekly time frame here. So I am actually leaning towards we are in process of painting a bottom. Now, if it's something where we're able to just chunk back up out of this, fine. But what I've seen in the past is we put up this wick, we eat it up, and then we get that one final flush down. And generally speaking, the bottom end of where the ETFs are grabbed is where I see the strength, right? Above $50,000. That's where I see the strength. Rubio's going to run Cuba. Oh, Lord. Yeah. I see. Oh, yeah. Let's go to Arrow chart. I wonder if Rubio is going to be an option for 2028. That's been on my mind. Arrow, let's check it out. I want the full data set on Arrow. I can't remember exactly where I found it. Not Gate. Let's see. I'm going to find it here. There it is. All right. So Aerodrome. This is probably one of the funner altcoins of my last, it was a bull market, you guys. Just for anyone that says it wasn't a bull market, they didn't take profit or weren't in the right things. We absolutely just had a bull market. 100%. Now Aerodrome, it's very similar to Tau, but slightly lower lows, right? Tau, in essence, has a very flatline defense point. I still see structural use and probability of Aerodrome continuing to thrive. Now, something else about it is that the money flow is trying to swoop back up to the upside, and it is defending itself at a very, very low price level. At 30 cents right now, and has defended this a few different times. The green box is where I can start closing my eyes and buying from 15 cents up to 26 cents. It's fine. And honestly, it's not too terribly above that level as it sits right now. But it's all about how long I have to hold an altcoin at low levels. I don't like sitting there writhing in, downward pressure on altcoins for months on end. I like waiting for confirmation that Bitcoin's saying, hell yeah, it's time to party. And then I go stack into the good altcoins, right? In that order, not in reverse. I do not buy the altcoins first. I buy the Bitcoin first, me personally. So Clayton Trimble, just screenshots. The whole goal here is to buy low and sell high for me. A lot of people's goal is to make those screenshots. So Aerodrome is not too bad in terms of a chart. Now let's go into DeFi Llama on Aerodrome. Let's actually go look at the DeFi Llama stats, because it's still a kind of structural center point for Base Network. Coinbase hasn't lost any ground in terms of use case. So let's see here. TVL slowly walking downtown. Fees going downtown. Let's see here. Let's go to volume. Let's pull up all the different metrics. Very low volume. All right. Revenue. Let's add this on. Revenue is going to be in the red. All these metrics. I like overlaying these metrics. Volume, revenue, and fees all getting real quiet, right? The price down. But generally speaking, it hasn't lost a use case for Base, and it's sitting here writhing around a point of price that it defended itself during the tariff trade war thing back in March of 2025. So this is interesting. This is very interesting to see. I might take a snag more. I might actually start buying this thing again. This is a time frame where there's going to be a little bit of time we have to wait until altcoins get super exciting again. And the markets are very unprecedented right now. And if you think that you can normal your way through unprecedented times, you got another thing coming. I will say that. This is not a time frame where you can just kind of be normal and just think things are going to be, what do they call it? Back to normal, or what was the Joe's tagline? I can't even remember it. This is not a time frame where we can just normal our way through unprecedented times. Absolutely. Did Josh get paid to shill Ondo at the top? No, Josh didn't get paid to shill Ondo. He believed in it a lot. And like me, I only knew to get out of Ondo because of my personal price targets. And here's another thing. It's not a 5x, it's a 500% increase, right? If you just stop saying, it's just a 2x, say 200% increase out loud to yourself. And then you can make the decision that you don't want to pull any profits off the top, right? I think we need to start practicing that more in altcoin sector instead of diminishing, a 2x is just a 2x. You doubled your money, okay? Doubling your money is not a bad thing. And taking risk off the table when you do have those moves and then leaving a little bit on the background to work for you in the background, that's a really, really nice way that I've learned to do this altcoin sector with, right? And I know that there's a lot of people that are awfully quiet right now that we're talking big stuff about the projects. Like, here's a good example. I'm going to cover, you know what? This is unprompted, but we're going to cover Algorand. Let's go. Algorand. I want to go find out what it looks like here. I'm going to guess 9 cents, but let's see. I haven't looked at this chart in a while. Let's see here. I was close. 8.8 cents. Damn it. Close. All right. So Algorand. And now it's the same general thing we're seeing on a lot of these altcoins, right? It's falling down to these old school levels. Let's go look under the hood. Go look under the hood. Where's Algo? Did they Lego their Algo? Let's see. I want to go find out. This is morbid curiosity. Okay, so $37 million in TVL. And the project, I wonder how much the actual market cap is on this. So it's got $31 million in TVL. Got a $782 million market cap. Volume slightly down. Having fun on the day, right? It's pumped on the day from 8.2 cents to 8.8 cents. So it's showing some buoyancy while everything should have buoyancy today. Let's see here. Does it have a bull? What are you talking about? Oh, this thing being built up just within the hour. I mean, maybe, but let's go look at the structure. So chain fees in the last 24 hours is coming to a monumental $12. I mean, this is massive. There's some huge things in store. Total raised. What is this? No, God, this has got to be. There's no way that they only raised. Oh, yeah, that's in millions. That was like $126. This is a problem. If your chain has 24 hours in fees coming in at $12, that's an issue. I will say that. And something else about this is that the inflation that's happening to this project in the long term makes me very concerned. The fact that this all-time high of 2021, $2.81 absolutely dwarfs the high that it had, the local high in the last bull market. Because remember, this is where Trump was tweeting about ISO coins, and Algo is in that ISO narrative. And yeah, there was a pump, but look at the pump compared to the previous all-time high. I mean, that is way lower. It topped out at 65 cents. Last one was $2.83. And this is the problem with this is you have a $780 million market cap for it currently at these extreme low levels of price. Like, honestly, this is kind of the giga low for Algorand outside of like this little wick here. Look at the market cap though. So back in 2020, Algorand was sitting at, right around August of 2020, $379 million market cap, right? And you look at that they don't even give me the price action. All right, here we go. August of 2020. Yeah, I mean, the price was way higher. This is 67 cents. So you have a chart that's sick from inflation is basically what this is. Does Algorand make less than minimum wage? Is that the moral of the story of today? Oh, Lord. I just will say, use DeFi Llama. If you don't already, please use DeFi Llama for whatever coin you're holding. please go look at how much money this chain's actually making per day. I'm not like, I see this and I understand the chart's low. I understand that even a fake out pump could bring it to a whopping 200% if it goes to 27 cents. But honestly, like, this thing looks sick. It looks sick. It looks problematic. So I'm not buying it. And, there's a lot of coins that I've gotten into and out of, like Linea is another one that I was like, I took a little flyer on Linea and I lost. It was the same thing with Hondo. I saw the money flow starting to head down bad and I got out of the way. This thing's at 3 some odd cents right now. So yeah, things can look good, but once you start losing market structure, you got to take an acknowledgement if you're going to sit there and take more pain. Right. You got to take it. Like, I took a 30-40% haircut on my Linnea holdings and it continued to fall after I got out by, like, if I would have just held it, another 50%. So, it is what it is. Cardano is so hard to know. Man. It is so hard to know if Cardano is going to survive. Like, it's an ethics play. People that believe in decentralization, Cardano is heavily decentralized. These layer 1 battles are getting pretty vicious. Right? These layer 1 battles are getting pretty vicious. Only a few will survive. Cardano is quite decentralized, though, and I think that will help it in this general environment. But it's a chain eat chain world out there. Right? We're seeing layer 1s cannibalize each other from more position at the top. And this is where, for any project that you hold, I do implore you, we are in a bear market. Go look and see if that project is performing by creating revenue in this bear market. And that will show you, is there still use? Even while the party's stopped and most people are walking away, is there still an underlying strength to that project? That's something you need to be very honest with yourself as we go through this process. Make sure that, this is what I'm making sure of, that my focus is Bitcoin. When I see that market cipher weekly start to clip back up to the upside in terms of money flow, then I can start taking major moves back into altcoins that I like. And this is where I map out all the structurally sound altcoins, and then allocate it accordingly, right? It's don't get ahead of yourself. Don't put too much on the table that could get taken away. Because remind you, I do this for a living. Take care of a huge family. And I have to be very cognizant about the risks that I take in this market to make sure that they're doing well. So to keep that in mind, I hope you enjoyed this. And if you have comments down in the description, below the description, let me know which projects you're holding that you need to know if there's any structural integrity in them right now. Let me know down in the comments. We'll make sure to cover those for you as well. And stay frosty. We're joining us on the blockchain basement next to talk about the war at large. And I hope to see you there.
We just wanted to take a quick second to shout out our sponsor, Arculus. They are a cold storage hardware wallet, helps you secure all of your digital assets for the future. Just tap this thing to the back of your phone and boom, you're in. We wouldn't be able to do this without them, but also wouldn't be able to do this without you guys, the Disco fam. You've supported us a lot over the years. If you want to support the channel now, just use the code DC20. It gets you 20% off this card. It's the #1 way you can support this channel going forward. Thank you for your support. We'll see you at the top.